Kanto. Kanto is where it all started. The OG region that made us all believe we could become Pokémon masters with just a starter and sheer determination. This is where trainers spammed Thunderbolt like it was the solution to every problem, and got hilariously lost in Viridian Forest while insisting they had a plan. Every Pokémon Center was a lifesaver, and the towns? Quirky names like Pallet, Pewter, and Lavender, no one questioned it. It just felt right. The world was simple, but Kanto laid the foundation for everything that came after. Let's not forget the iconic starters: Bulbasaur, Charmander, and Squirtle. Every decision you made felt like it would define your entire journey. Pick Charmander, and you basically had to suffer through the first 2 gyms as penance for wanting a cool fire-breathing lizard. Squirtle gave you smooth sailing early on, while Bulbasaur was like picking easy mode. The most interesting and surprising fact is that Kanto is based on Japan's real Kanto region, which includes Tokyo. But unless I missed something on my last visit to Japan, there isn't a Charizard flying around the Tokyo Tower. Though, if we're honest, Tokyo would probably welcome one. The towns in Kanto are also inspired by real places, and Pallet Town's theme of being a small, quiet place reflects the more rural areas of Japan. Well, minus the hyperactive professor who sends 10-year-olds off into the wild. Johto. Johto is Kanto's cool, more traditional neighbor. If Kanto is the modern city, Johto feels like the ancient town where everyone still clings to legends passed down through generations. It's like you've stepped into a world where the old ways are still very much alive. Instead of bustling cities, you'll find beautiful shrines, sacred towers, and people who believe in the power of ancient myths and legendary Pokémon. The vibe here is peaceful, almost like time slows down a little, but just when you're getting comfortable, you remember that Team Rocket is still hanging around. And what are they up to? Oh, just, trying to take over the region through radio signals, because apparently, that's how desperate criminals operate when things go south. I guess running a proper criminal organization is harder than it looks. Are you waiting for the surprising fact, guys? So, here you are. The Burned Tower's legendary Pokémon revival is one of the most tragic and eerie moments in the entire Pokémon series. The idea that Raikou, Entei, and Suicune were once ordinary creatures who perished in a fire and were brought back to life by Ho-Oh gives these legendaries a haunting backstory. It also implies that some Pokémon are not only capable of dying, but of being reborn. So yeah, Johto doesn't just flirt with myth and legend. It fully embraces the idea of life, death, and resurrection. Hoenn. Hoenn is where things get wet, literally. If you thought Kanto and Johto were nice and dry, Hoenn said, "Hold my super potion," and dropped a huge chunk of the map underwater. A full third of the region is ocean, which means if you hate surfing, and let's be honest, everyone hates random tentacool encounters, Hoenn will test your patience. But once you get over that, you'll realize this tropical paradise is a region packed with diversity. You've got it all here: beaches, rainforests, mountains, deserts, volcanoes, and even underwater caves. If Kanto felt like a straight path to victory, Hoenn feels like an adventure vacation where you just might get lost or drown along the way. In the remakes, Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, you can fly around Hoenn on a Latios or Latias like it's your own personal jet. That's right, you're no longer limited to just landing in towns. Now you can soar through the skies, make mid-air landings, and explore hidden locations across the map. It's like Hoenn went full luxury travel mode, making your Pokémon the ultimate Uber ride. Honestly, flying never felt this cool before. Sinnoh. Sinnoh is where things get seriously mystical. Up until now, the Pokémon world was mostly about catching cute critters and beating up rival trainers for fun, but Sinnoh takes things up a notch. You're not just saving towns or battling over global warming anymore. In Sinnoh, you're playing with the very fabric of existence. We're talking time, space, alternate dimensions, and Pokémon lore that could make a philosophy professor scratch their head. This region feels like you've wandered into a history textbook, but instead of boring old kings and battles, you're dealing with ancient gods that created the universe. Yeah, no pressure. So, let's circle back to Arceus for a moment. Not only can you catch the god of Pokémon, you actually get a full backstory that shows you just how deeply intertwined this region is with Pokémon lore. The whole game is set in an ancient version of Sinnoh, long before Pokeballs even existed. It's like getting a glimpse into the ancient past, where humans first started learning about Pokémon. Plus, you get to ride around on Ursaluna, a bear with a shovel on its head, because why not? Unova. Unova is like that bold, ambitious sequel that takes the franchise to new heights. This region is a massive departure from the cozy, nature-filled vibes of the earlier regions. Here, things get industrial. It's all big cities, towering skyscrapers, and urban sprawl. You'll definitely feel the modern, fast-paced energy because, surprise, Unova is based on New York City. The minute you step into the sprawling cityscapes, with their bridges and high-tech Pokémon centers, it feels less like you're on a rural adventure, and more like you're caught up in the hustle of the Big Apple. It's like Unova handed you a Metro card, tossed you into a bustling metropolis and said, "Good luck, kid." So here's a fun fact. Unova's not just based on NYC, but the creators actually took trips to the Big Apple for inspiration. That's right, the skyscrapers, the bustling urban atmosphere, even the bridges. They're all directly inspired by the real thing. But unlike New York, I'm pretty sure Castelia City has a lot fewer traffic jams and a lot more Pokémon battles in the streets. Kalos. Bonjour. Kalos is Pokémon's version of a Parisian holiday. Chic, elegant, and brimming with flair. If you've ever wanted to sip a latte by a giant Pokémon-inspired Eiffel Tower, well, Kalos is your region. Right from the moment you set foot here, everything screams style. Kalos doesn't just dabble in the regular Pokémon adventure format. It's a region obsessed with beauty, fashion, and the finer things in life. This is where trainers become as much about their outfits as their battle skills. That's right, for the first time in Pokémon history, you can play dress-up. And let's be real, the true victory is strutting around in a designer hat and cute boots. Surprisingly, in Kalos, the legendary Pokémon Xerneas and Yveltal don't just symbolize life and death. They can affect the very essence of these things. Xerneas has the power to grant eternal life to those who deserve it, while Yveltal drains the life force of everything around it when it dies, turning the region into a potential wasteland. So, when you're catching these two, remember, you're basically messing with the circle of life. Alola. This is where the Pokémon world says, you know what? We're going on vacation. Everything here screams tropical paradise. Beaches, palm trees, and the kind of laid-back vibes that make you want to forget about gym battles and just chill with a coconut drink. But don't let the paradise fool you. Alola is made up of 4 main islands: Melemele, Akala, Ula Ula, and Pony, plus a man-made artificial island that's all about futuristic research and mystery. Each of these islands has its own personality, and instead of traditional gyms, you go through these island trials that range from battling powerful Pokémon to hunting for specific items. It's a refreshing break from the classic formula, almost like Pokémon decided to throw in a little Hawaiian adventure just to keep us on our toes. You're not just wandering through towns and battling trainers, you're exploring caves, jungles, and volcanoes, all while learning about Alola's rich culture and history. Alola switches things up with island trials instead of traditional gyms, and believe me, they pack a punch in their own way. Instead of facing gym leaders, you're dealing with kahunas, who act more like wise mentors than battle-crazy opponents. It's all part of the chill but still dangerous vibe of this sun-soaked region. Galar. Welcome to Galar, where Pokémon meets the UK, and everything is either massive or steeped in ancient legends. Galar has rolling hills straight out of the English countryside, foggy forests that make you feel like you're wandering through a Sherlock Holmes mystery, and, best of all, giant stadiums where people gather to watch Pokémon battles like they're watching Premier League football. And let's be honest, with the wild cheers and energy in those stadiums, it feels like a sport where people care just as much about the battle as they do about the atmosphere. Just like Alola, Galar brings its own regional forms to the table, but with a distinct British twist. For example, Galarian Weezing doesn't just change its appearance, it grows massive smokestack-like hats that look like top hats, making it resemble a Victorian-era industrialist. It's the most British-looking Pokémon you'll ever see. And then there's Galarian Ponyta, which becomes a psychic type, and looks like it just stepped out of a mystical forest or a unicorn-themed dream. These regional forms add a whole new layer of fun to exploring the region, especially when you run into a familiar Pokémon that's now rocking a totally new look. Paldea. Welcome to Paldea, the fresh face in the Pokémon universe, and boy, does it make an entrance. Inspired by the vibrant cultures of Spain and Portugal, Paldea is like Pokémon's ultimate vacation destination, but with a magical twist. This region takes the concept of open-world gameplay and stretches it to its limits, letting you explore sprawling landscapes with the freedom of a backpacker. Now, Let's talk about the Terastal phenomenon, which is Paldea's claim to fame. It's like Pokémon got a makeover, but with a magical crystal twist. When your Pokémon undergo terastallization, they turn into sparkling, gem-like versions of themselves. This phenomenon isn't just for show. Terastal Pokémon get a boost in power and sometimes even a new type. Imagine your Pikachu dazzling everyone with a crystal aura and zapping opponents with an extra jolt of electricity. It's like your Pokémon decided to put on their best bling and bring their A-game to the battle arena. Just to be honest, Paldea is not just about its current-day wonders. The region's history is as intriguing as its present. The Terastal phenomenon is rooted in ancient lore, with crystals said to have been a gift from legendary Pokémon to the people of Paldea. This means that the region's shiny, gem-like Pokémon forms are not just a cool new feature. They're deeply connected to the land's ancient past. It's like discovering that the sparkles on your Pokémon are a nod to an age-old tradition of crystal magic.
If you want to improve your mind and satisfy your hunger for knowledge, evolve your brain by liking and subscribing. Let's advance our intelligence together. I'll see you next time.